Here's another part of painting the cabin. I got some new tools and white paint. This is where I left off with. It is a rusty boat that's upside down. It's supposed to be metal. I could have just made it wood with paint chipping off, but I'm not very skilled at that yet. There's the cabin, and all of this on the right hand side is going to get changed soon. So far I'm painting everything out of order. You're supposed to paint all of the background first, so like the sky and the ground, and then you paint the next step, which is like the distant items, then your closer to foreground items, then your closest items, and then you put your grasses over the very top of that bottom of the edge of the boat, that type of scenario where you're supposed to layer things with oil paint. I did none of that, so now it's going to be mostly touch-up work the entire time. I've never really used a palette knife, and you can kind of see. So this is going to get messy. I might fast forward this nonsense just to make you cringe faster. So I was taking white, gray, rusty orange, and kind of a deep clay red, and I was going for rusting up the old bottom of the boat, which is upside down. Got some brand new brushes and of different shapes and lengths, and it was like, oh yes, now I can practice with stuff I'm not used to. This is awesome. So at this point I thoroughly smudge up and ruin the boat, so just get ready for that. This is just some personal sized 1 to 2 seater homeowner type of boat. It's just, hey, you take it out on the water and go fishing, bring some fish home to eat. This is not some fancy thing on the back of a trailer behind an overpriced truck. That's not what I'm painting here. So eventually I get the washcloth out, some turpentine, and just go over this smudgy mess I've made, kind of removing stuff I didn't want. And I think, them artists in the past, I wonder if they had to smear off their work with a turpentine rag before too. And I'm sure they did. At this point, I'm just dabbing away and removing stuff that's not useful. And there's quite a lot of gray and white. I just want to paint it blue again, or red, probably red again, and put the grass in front of it and call it a day. And this is where I'm thinking. Just end it. But no, I know I'm going to keep trying, make myself try. And so this is where I'm learning to use my tools again. Right now it looks like the bottom of a silver boat or an aluminum boat that's been over sanded. Eventually it turns into what I would call a rotten banana. So here I'm going to bust out the paints I've collected. There's an orange and a brown in there. Those should be the right colors. I'm just not familiar with making rust, and doesn't have to be a metal boat. No, I could have made a wood boat, and by that time it was too late. Now it's a gray silver aluminum boat. So I'm going to show you the colors I'm putting on my palette. I got a palette. I got a brand new tube of red crimson oil paint plus the white. I've been waiting for the white for a month or so, and it was definitely needed. Here I've got my orange, my clay red, and some grayish white, a little bit of black mixed in. So I'm going for the full gross rust. Later I'll add blotches of blue, because maybe the boat was painted blue. I think you're supposed to do that the opposite direction, because rust goes on top the paint color. Usually it's the paint color that's losing ground, losing its tact to the boat. And then you put the rust on. And the gray silver of the boat, if there's any left, would probably be somewhere in between putting the blue on and putting the rust on. So that makes sense to put it in that order. I think I need steps when I'm learning how to paint. I need steps, which almost takes the fun out of painting. But at the same time, it would help me order things better. I would do less floundering around trying to jimmy rig this and that. I like instruction manuals, I think, if they're written correctly. Nothing in Chinese, thank you. So at this point, I really want the ridge of that boat, the very center bottom seam, to be visible. Just most boats that are metal are welded together in halves cut lengthwise, so I was aiming for that. So now you can see why I say it's a really gross banana, or dirty pea pod. It looks like a pea pod, only orange and gray. Dried pea pod. Okay, I'm done. This is where I get boat painting fatigue. I moved over to the plow, and I started adding the rust on it because I know that's solid iron. And eventually, this is where I need instructions of steps. Step 1, paint red for the entire object. Step 2, add the deeper shadows. Step 3, add the highlighted bright orange, rusty, crusty stuff. But no, I don't have any instructions. I got a lot of freckles on my hands though. Or are those age spots? Dun, dun, dun. Now I need to see the painting, not my hand. That's much better. So here comes the orange rust on the old plow. Somewhere. There. Some of these were made of wood, but I'm not going for that. Not much of that would be left. So I only made a little bit of progress on these two for this video. I do throw a lot more progress in on some plant life and sky, so hold on. But this is going to be fun. I'm going to look at a picture of a plow, an old-fashioned one, and kind of get the shape of the seat and the metal bars and the tires, or the wheels, and put this thing together a little bit better. But I haven't done that yet. Been kind of busy with other things in life, and this is my downtime. But I sure want my downtime to be of quality, not just goofing off and then look at it and be like, well, that was a waste of time. You know, nothing good came of that. So I need to make this a little more prosperous for my mind. So besides the metal plow and the rusted old bucket boat, which gets slightly better, I throw in some dark points around that bottom seam and some more highlights where the rust is just worn away. And then I start mixing up a really deep cobalt blue, and that helps quite a bit. At this point, it could have passed as a rusty old boat, and I could have just thrown some grass in front of it, and maybe touches of paint here and there, or throw a wooden oar that's leaning up against it, maybe completely rotten away. But I took it a step farther. Trying out my angle brushes. The light that's on the paint right now, the paint is too wet, so the color is being kind of lost. The camera can't pick it up. But it is a really deep cobalt blue. It's really pretty. And probably, like I said, I should have put the rust on last. Small parts of it are going to be a brilliant blue, I guess, a little bit, if I can keep up with what I'm doing. And other parts are the mushy, rusting, flaking away blue. This is another one of those painting projects that needs a reference, since I'm not used to painting rust on metal. Having a picture would have worked really well. I could have even taken pictures of rusted metal, have some outside. I'm sure I could find some in town, and just take pictures of it as reference. This is the fun part where I add the white birch tree stems, branches, to the greenery in the background. And originally it's supposed to be those penny trees, the white birch paper trees that have the little round green leaves. I kind of grew up with one in the front yard, one or two. I was super allergic to them, but they were pretty and they made a fun sound when the wind would blow through them. So I'm working on kind of throwing those way in the background. Maybe there's a whole small forest edge filled with them. In the back, behind those white birch trees, is a different whole forest of kind of a golden oak or maple or something. Just a lot of orangish yellow, bright, shiny leaves. And I'll get to those a little bit after these. So the larger, taller trees, either they're maple trees or they're, I don't know, are getting their branches thrown in there. And then white birch always has these spots of dark and white contrast going up the trunk. So I threw some of that in there. And I'm going to add a little bit of highlights and dark to the branches of the maple trees in the back, just to kind of give them a little bit of a boost. My camera is slowly rotating to the left, so it's not you. Now, completely out of order, I gotta work on the sky behind the trees. You're not supposed to do this. You're supposed to start with a blue sky and then put the trees on top, after paint dries. Well, no. I am going to cram this blue sky in right on top of the trees, and hopefully it blends in okay. So when I blend, I just get a little turpentine on the end of the brush. And I am going to use the blending to start to manipulate the shattered or splintered wood post over there on the left and make it not so thick. I was kind of waiting for this sky addition in order to repair the post, or I guess further break it down. Here's where I start working on the sky. The clouds in the background, like very distant clouds. Maybe there is the rising sun of a night thunderstorm. So everything is still dark and cloudy above and moist or humid. And so I just kind of go all over the place with some clouds. And it turns out okay. It's inspiring. It's not the final product I want for the sky, but I can work with it. So here's where the boat colors start to blend with the rest of the picture. It's starting to look like, hey, yes, it was a blue boat and now it's all rusted. Because look at the moisture in there. Look at the stormy clouds. Look at the environment. Also, the large amount of moss and grasses fit the environment now. Now that it looks like there's a lot more moisture in the air. This cabin would never fit if I had painted the background a desert, or if I had painted the background like Alaska, like solid ice or permafrost ground, and it would kind of look a little bit funny. There's too much moss and grasses all over. Now I got the challenge of putting dark blue and blending it around a wooden cabin post and walls and not smear it into my yellow trees. And yet somehow get that dark blue to come on through down past the roof line. So it's a little bit tricky. I'm not the most accurate painter. And like I said, I haven't painted very much in my life. I do know how to do artwork, so this wasn't impossible. It was a good challenge. I like it. Sometimes I just make myself do stuff. At this point, it looks like it's raining around the rooftop of the cabin. Not quite what I wanted. I might change that later. But I have gone all the way to the right, almost, of the painting and smudged in some violet, some deeper purples, which is hard to see. I need a much larger brush than what I'm using right now. Kind of a Bob Ross giant painting brush. That's what I need. So I'll do a little more work on this later, but this is where I'm at. Just a little bit of tree improvement and a little bit of boat improvement and an overall image of what's there so far. So hit that like, subscribe button so that I know that somebody's watching this besides myself. And maybe I'll do a little bit more on this. And thanks for watching.